It was the closest music that we could come up with that was about being a queen. So it is Queen. Anyway, it's under pressure. I'm feeling the pressure this morning to do this Facebook Live without Jeremy. Jeremy's tutoring today, so he's not joining me for the Facebook Live. It's just me, Kim Thompson, and I'm going to share with you some of my ideas around running a successful make and take workshop. So I've been doing make and takes probably for about 8 years. I guess I want to start by saying that you know, there's no one way to do this. Everyone does make and take workshops totally different. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, whether you've got lots and lots of supplies or you've got no supplies. You know, you can start out really small and grow. So I'm going to talk you through some of my top tips. It's not going to be Kim's top 5. There's more than 5 tips that I'm going to talk about today. So if I don't respond to your comments, it's just that it's hard for me to read the comments and also to remember all the things I've got to say. So I guess my inspiration for running make and takes comes from one of our top leaders in Young Living, and that's Melissa Pepping. Melissa Pepping is the ultimate make and take queen. She's really knowledgeable. She has numerous recipe books called The Chemical Free Living, and in those books there's all kinds of recipes for making your own cleaning products. You know, Melissa Pepping is definitely someone that you want to follow and take notice of if you are looking at becoming a make and take queen. So I guess I liken this whole new DIY kind of revolution to, in my grandma's day, they were like CWA ladies, right? I don't know whether you guys have the CWA, like it's the Country Women's Association. Anyway, up here in the bush, we have the CWA. And the CWA ladies used to get together on like a regular basis. So usually it was once a week. And they'd bring along like, you know, their sponge cake that had been in their family recipe, you know, album for a million years, and they'd all like, you know, taste the beautiful sponge cake and they'd share the recipes. You know what? That's kind of what we do, but we don't make sponge cakes. We make products with essential oils. And so I think it's similar to that. And the other thing is we don't necessarily go along and meet in a hall. We meet in someone's house. We find the recipes on Pinterest. If you, I guess, want to be successful at make and takes and you're not on Pinterest, then you need to change that. Pinterest is the best friend of make and take queens. You've got to be on Pinterest. Even if you're just starting out, it's a great place to find recipes to actually, you know, you can Google. I always put in Young Living in the search bar. So if I want to find, you know, a soap recipe, I put soap Young Living, or I put foot scrub, peppermint foot scrub, or Young Living. And so that way it comes up with recipes that are using Young Living oils. If I can't find Young Living, I'll just put in foot scrub recipe. But Pinterest is definitely a place that you need to be utilizing to find recipes. But the other thing is that once you start making these products, take photos of them and put them on Pinterest with your recipe. Like, you might have adapted the recipe or whatever. Even if you copied off someone else's recipe, still take a photo of yours, put up the recipe, and make sure you put in your member link so that if people want to order products, you know, the oils from you, that they can do that, or they can find you through Pinterest. Pinterest it's not like social media. It's not like Facebook or Instagram. It's actually more like Google. It is a search engine. It's a search engine for basically, you know, anything from clothes to recipes to house decor, whatever. So if you're not on Pinterest, the first thing I want you to do is go and get the Pinterest app and start looking for recipes. And follow people. You can follow me, and I've got lots and lots of recipes on you know, on making your own products. So I guess what's involved in a make and take. So whenever you're thinking about planning a make and take, I want you to think about these things, okay? So it's basically the what, where, when, how, and who. It can't be more simple than that, okay? What, where, when, how, and who. So why? Why do you want to run a make and take, okay? So that's the first question you need to ask yourself. So the reason I love doing make and takes is because they're compliant. It's not like running oils for the brain or a hormone workshop or even an introduction to oils where you've got to think, oh, am I saying the right thing? Am I making sure that these claims I'm making about lemon oil are compliant? With a make and take, you're not making any claims, you're making products, and it's so easy to remain compliant. So that's one of the main reasons why I run make and takes. It's simple. People come along, they love to make their own products, and they fall in love with not only making their own products, they fall in love with the oils, they fall in love with you. I'm going to talk a bit about branding and the importance of branding, and it really is important to create this tribe, this sense of community. We've got girls in our team who run, weekly, fortnightly, monthly make and take workshops, and everyone who is running make and takes will tell you that they've got groupies. Like we have groupies. We have people that it wouldn't matter whether I made, I don't know, the same thing week after week, they'd still come because they're coming for that sense of female companionship and that friendship. And because when you're making things together, you're talking about your lives, you're talking about all the great things that are happening. And I definitely think that, that's why we run make and takes. Then I want you to think about who. Because who's going to come to your make and takes? Who do you want to come? Okay, that's probably more important. If you had your ideal people at your make and take, who would they be? Because the who actually tells you where, when, and what. Okay, so if you can answer the who, then you'll know the where, when, and what. Because if it's mums that you want coming along, and that's primarily who come to my make and take, is other mums that want to learn to make natural chemical-free products for their children. They want to save money, so I'm creating this picture around who it is that I want to come. So therefore, I've got to have it in a venue that's child-friendly, because most mums need to, be able to bring their children along. So I hold make and takes here in my own house where my girls have already got their Barbie vans set up. I noticed that Sarah was on here. Sarah's daughter came along to one of our make and takes, and I just got out the Barbie, camper trailer, and she could play with that, or the Lego, or, if they're older kids, they come downstairs and they sit in the lounge room and get to watch TV. So I'm making it child friendly. Or the other thing is, we've had children come along to our make and takes and they've wanted to actually make the products themselves. So have that as an option if you're targeting mums. But think about who you want there, and that will help you to work out the when, where, and what. So the next thing is what. What are you going to make? So once you've decided who, so if it's mums, then the products need to be relevant to the who. So you could start off, like if you've got a whole heap of mums coming that have got babies, then you could make baby bath soak, you can make baby wipes, you can make baby powder, you can make, all the different... Sorry, I just read Sarah's message that says that she always wants to come back to the oil lady's house. But it's so true, because we're creating this environment where kids learn about chemical-free living right from the time that they're little. And I think that that's really important. They're going to embrace that chemical-free lifestyle. So think about who's coming and what products they might like to make. If they're older women that you've got coming, they might want to make, face cream for mature skin. You've got to think about who's coming, and that will give you an idea. If you've got, it's around Father's Day, it's about making Father's Day gifts. Tomorrow we've got a Mother's Day make and take here. We've got people coming to learn to make gifts for their mums. We're going to make a spray perfume. We're going to make moisturizer. We're actually... So if anyone's watching this and they're not already coming to tomorrow's Mother's Day make and take, maybe this will sell you on it. We're actually going to make Frankie and Rose moisturizer. Rose, you're going to get to make a moisturizer with rose oil in it. How often would you get to do that? It's about making it special, and so that the people that come along feel like they're a part of something that's really, really special. Okay, so as I say, make sure that the products are relevant to the people that are coming. Look on Pinterest and even put in, baby recipe DIY, baby products, whatever you want to make, put it into the search engine and it'll give you an idea about some recipes for mums, or recipes for dads, or whatever. Recipes for feet. I try to stick to a theme. So there's lots of recipes in our Team Valor Facebook group that are for make and takes. So there's like the we made 4 products for feet one time. We made 4 products for hair one time, 4 products for skin, for, you know, like whatever. I try to pick a theme and we make them along those themes. The next thing is how. So are you going to do a formal presentation where you stand up and, you know, have a PowerPoint with all the recipes? If that's not your thing, which, you know, I don't think it works that well with make and takes. I think that it's much better doing a demo where we sit around a kitchen table. Sometimes in my living room upstairs, well, my dining and kitchen area, it's a really long room, so we just run the tables along. We've actually had 26 people one time in my area upstairs around the tables, and that was a bit squishy. And also the other thing is that when you've got that many people, they can't hear. Like if they're down the other end, I ended up having to get Amanda, Simone and Anna Marie to come over, and Katie, to help with like, you know, I had other members there to help people because 26 was too many people for me to get around and help everybody. So, you know, who else can you get to come along to help out? And then offer them to come for free, so that if I really need you to come along, I've got 12 people coming, you know, it'd be great if you could come. You know, you don't have to pay, I'll give you the products for free. You know, once you start to get bigger numbers, you can think about that kind of stuff. You can also do what I call speed make and take, like it's like speed dating, where you move around really quick. So maybe you want to set up, rather than have everyone around one big table, like a big kitchen table, you might like to have stations set up around the room. So you'd have like, if you're making 4 things, have 4 stations. And that way, you know, you can write just one recipe. So I know Lyndall writes the recipes on a like a little blackboard that she's got, and so she writes the recipes and then stands them on the table. Maybe you want to get some butcher's paper and cover the table with butcher's paper and actually write the recipe on the butcher's paper. Do you want to give them recipe sheets that, you know, with if it's at each station, there might be a recipe sheet at each station, or do you want to give them a A4 page with the 4 recipes of the 4 products you're making? Whatever it is, but that's the idea of like speed make and takes, where you move around quickly. I guess the thing that I want to emphasize with this whole thing is what I call the KISS principle. So, you know, I actually think rather than keep it simple stupid, it's actually keep it simple sweetie. I think that's much nicer. But, you know, keep it simple. So whatever's going to work for you. If it's more simple for you to have 4 stations set up where people will move around, they follow the recipe and they make it themselves, and all you do is the introduction and the end, then do it that way. But if you like teaching and you want to stand up and show everybody how to actually make the products themselves, then what I try to do is I try to educate people on the oils that we're putting into the particular products. So if we are putting in frankincense into our moisturizer, why are we putting frankincense into our moisturizer? Why are we putting, you know, peppermint into our feet products? Well, I try to educate people as we're going, and I talk about the oils. I try to include some oils from the premium starter kit. Another thing that I do with all of my products is try to put blends in. The reason I love blends in our products is because blends, they can't just go down to the health food shop or the cheap shop or whatever and buy a blend to put in the product. People like to follow a recipe, particularly if they're new to things. You think about a recipe that you've made for a cake or something like that. If there's an ingredient in that cake and you don't own that ingredient, most of the time you're not as likely to make that product until you've gone and bought that ingredient. And the same is true with make and takes. If you're making products, make sure that you include some blends that they have to buy from Young Living. They have to order through you if they want to make this product again. And that's not to say that, I mean, really creative people will go, oh wow, it's got stress away in it. Okay, well, I'm going to put this other oil that I've got. But just as, you know, it's a psychological thing. And most people will then look at ordering from you those blends if they want to make these products again. The next thing is when. So far we've talked about who, what, how. The next thing that you're going to want to look at is when you're going to run these workshops. So once again, the who tells you that. So if you're running it with mums and they're working mums, then you're not going to run it on a weekday, because they're going to be at work. But if you're running it with mums with babies, then they probably would prefer a weekday in the morning or in the afternoon. Well, I don't tend to run things in the afternoon with mums with babies because their babies usually like to have a nap. So I run things in the morning for mums. You know, does morning, afternoon or night or weekends. Like at the moment, I'm having to run my workshops on a Sunday. And the reason for that is because myself and all of my friends have kids in sport. Like this morning, my girls are at netball and soccer. And I'm here talking to you guys. So, you know, if I want to get other mums along, I'm not going to do it on a Saturday morning. And in summer, Sunday morning, I mean, apart from church, if you're a part of a church community, then people aren't going to come out on a Sunday morning. But here where we live, everybody on Sunday mornings does surf lifesaving. So everyone's at surf club. And so I'm not going to run things on a Sunday morning. They're either at church or at surf lifesaving. So the next thing you want to think about is how. How are you going to promote it? Are you going to do Facebook, set up an event on Facebook? Are you going to hand out flyers? I always print flyers and I go into Canva to do this. And then when I print them, I either print 4 or 6 to a page, and then I cut them out. And I put them in my handbag. And when I'm walking around and I might be having a conversation with people, like they might ask, you know, what do I do? Or, wow, you smell amazing, or whatever. I say, oh, well, you know, I'm teaching a Mother's Day make and take this weekend. If you want to come along, here's a flyer on it. You've always got a flyer so that people can, you know, so that you can give them out to people. I send text messages to people that, particularly people who've expressed an interest in the past in coming to something and they haven't been able to come along. I keep a list of those and I follow them up and say, oh, last year you couldn't come to our Mother's Day make and take, you know, come along this time, this is when it's on. Don't just rely on Facebook. And the other thing is that if you've got a public page on Facebook and you advertise an event, make people book in, because if people just say that they're interested or they're going, there's no commitment there. There's no actual you know, onus on them to turn up. And you don't want to have to go out and buy supplies for 20 people and only 2 turn up. I'm really lucky. I've got a full cupboard over in that corner of supplies that I can draw from. But, you know, you don't want to be going out and buying a whole heap of jars and spray bottles and all that kind of stuff and then have people not turn up. So, you know, maybe you want them to pay a deposit. Maybe you want to use something like Eventbrite or Try Booking to get people to book in advance. I know that's what Danielle's been doing. She's been setting up all of her events in Eventbrite and getting people to pay in advance, so that way she knows that they're committed and you know, you can only come if you book in. Stock up. You know, often if you know you're going to run a few make and take workshops, buy some amber jars and, you know, buy them in advance, and then once you've got a fair few, then you can work out, well, like I tend to go and have a look in my cupboard and go, wow, I've got a whole heap of spray bottles, what can we make? Or I've got a whole heap of jars, what can we make? So there's lots of things can go in jars. You can put moisturizers, you can put scrubs, masks, all that kind of stuff. So think about the things that if you're buying jars, try to buy containers that you can do multi-use. So where do I get some supplies? So I like, you know, I obviously grew up as a Girl Guide, so I'm like the whole be prepared motto kind of person, and I like to be prepared. So I buy in bulk a lot of my stuff, but when you're starting out, you know, you're not necessarily going to be able to do that, but maybe you could pool with someone else. Maybe there's someone else in our team who is buying you know, glass jars and spray bottles and things like that, and you can go in and share the postage and that kind of stuff so that you can save costs. But I buy stuff from New Directions in Sydney. They're in Alexandria. I have bought my glass jars from there, my spray bottles, a lot of my other ingredients, so things like clays, salt, all the other sort of ingredients that go like into shea butter, cocoa butter, all of those things New Direction sells. Plastine is a great place for jars, although they do only sell in bulk. Aussie Soap Supplies, although they're great for you girls over there in Western Australia, but for us here in New South Wales, it takes a while to get here. So my preference is New Directions, but there are some things that you can order from Aussie Soap Supplies, like the foaming hand soap bottles that you can't get from anywhere else in Australia. And I actually order a lot of stuff even still from overseas. I love Abundant Health For You. So 4 is in the letter 4 and U. So I get a lot of I get lip balm containers and deodorant, roll-up deodorant containers, the foaming hand soap, the foaming face wash kind of containers. I get all of those from Abundant Health For You. Even Life Science Publishing. So Life Science Publishing sells some containers as well. So they're just some other places that you can order stuff from. I've talked a bit about Pinterest already to get your recipes, but you can order lots of recipe books from Abundant Health for You and from Life Science Publishing. And then, you know, as I said before, I talked about Melissa Pepping. She's got a lot of recipes. There's actually a group on Facebook called YL Make and Take Support Group. There's lots of ideas in there for labels, for bags, for recipes, for, you know, different things. Join that group. It's a great way to, you know, to get support, to ask questions about what works, what doesn't work, all of that kind of thing. As far as branding goes, I think it's really important that you brand yourself. So obviously all of you guys know that my brand is the Hot Oily Mama. So on all of my recipe sheets, I've got my, you know, my logo and my contact details, so that everyone gets a recipe sheet at my workshop, so that they can come along and if they don't sign up then and there. I've had people contact me 12 months later and say, oh, I did your such and such a workshop, and, you know, I wanted to get whatever, and it's because they found the recipe sheet, or they found a jar or a container with something on it. So if you want to print your own labels, you can actually go to Officeworks or even Spotlight, and you can buy labels that you can, like Avery is the brand of the ones at Officeworks, and you literally set it up. There's a program online where you put in the product that you want to make. So these are like the moisturizer ones. The label's a bit big for that size jar, but it's got templates. You set it up and you can print them out. If you don't want to go to that trouble, we have Kesley in our group who owns Kesley Labels, and she makes these fantastic labels there for the toilet bombs. Once again, low tox lifestyle. So it's kind of got that branding that Danae and Kim have been using, so that it reminds people how they can get back in contact with you and how they can reorder if they need to. I always hand out flyers on my next workshop. There's no point running make and takes or any kind of workshops unless you're then finding the next opportunity to connect them again. So I'm always at every workshop giving out the flyer on the next workshop. So we're going to have workshops at the end of this month on, we're doing a business opportunity workshop, and we're doing a getting ready for winter workshop. So at tomorrow's Mother's Day and the hormones workshop I'm running tomorrow, I'll be handing out the flyers on those. So always trying to invite people along to the next event that you're having. Give them a business card, as I said, put labels on them, make them fancy. I know like Sharon and Danielle and Sarah have been spending a lot of time on labels and making their products look pretty, so that, you know, because people really like that. They appreciate that prettiness. Even give them a bag. Like if you can pick up even from cheap shops, like just little carry bags that they can take their 4 products home. If you want to put them in a bag and put your label or staple your business card to the bag, that's just another great way to brand yourself and to let people know that, you know, that they can get back in contact with you. One thing that I do also is I try to create tubs of similar kind of products. So if I'm running it at home, it's easy because my storage stuff is downstairs. But when I'm running it at the, you know, Valor Hall or in Coffs Harbour or whatever, I try to get a big plastic tub, and I put into the plastic tub the all the products and jars and whatever labels or whatever for that particular product, so that if I am setting up different stations around the place, I can put that box there, and I know all of the things for that particular recipe are in there. You might choose to do like a running sheet if you're running them regularly and you're running them outside your home, and on the running sheet it's got, you know, it might be your script in a way, but it's a list of all the products, and make sure that when you're making up your running sheet, you don't forget equipment, okay? There's nothing worse than turning up to a hall to make a moisturizer and you didn't bring any sticks, paddle pop sticks to stir it, or you didn't bring any whisks, or you didn't bring any teaspoon measurements or quarter cups or half a cups or whatever. If you need to measure stuff out, or metal bowls, or, you know, glass beakers, whatever it is that you need, make sure that you've got all of the equipment to make it, not just the ingredients. Make sure you've got all that stuff. Now, I talked before about recipe sheets, so you might like to do, like I do a A4 recipe sheet with the 4 things that I'm going to make. Sometimes I even put extra recipes on it, just to give them, like, you know, I say that here's 6 recipes, but we're making 4 today or whatever, but there's another 2 in case you want to go home and make them at another time. Another way, if you don't have a printer or you, you know, you can't, you know, print out the recipes for some reason. As I say, you can actually write them on a blackboard or write them on butcher's paper on the, or like, you know, cover the tables. But you can also offer to email them out to people afterwards. So you say to people, this is what we're making today. If you would like the recipes, jot your email address on this bit of paper and I'll email them out later. And that way you're collecting people's email addresses so that you can pop them on a newsletter list and you can email them about future workshops. So that is another way. In the past, I've also encouraged people to bring USB sticks along to my workshops, and I've put recipes or handouts or whatever we've done at the workshop, even the PowerPoint presentation, I've put those on the USB sticks. All right. I actually think that's kind of all of it, really. The who, what, when, how, and why. Yeah, of running a make and take. So there, I guess my top tips is get on Pinterest, so that you can start looking for recipes and you can post pictures of your own products, and make sure that you share them on social media. Share the products that you've made. I know Sarah does a great job of that, of taking photos of the products after we've made them. I always forget, and then everyone's gone home and they've taken the products and I didn't make any for myself. So, you know, make sure you take photos of the people having fun at your workshop so that you can put it on social media and you can promote how awesome your make and take classes are. Let us know, let us see what great work you're doing. And, you know, I think that if you think about that, who is the workshop for and why am I running it? The who tells you the what, when, how, and where. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed these tips. And if you have any questions about make and take, jump on, send me a message or pop it in the comments and I'll endeavour to get back to you. Thanks, guys. Enjoy your Saturday.